The Battle of Palo Alto was the first major battle of the Mexican-American War and was fought on May 8, 1846, on disputed ground 5 miles from the modern-day city of Brownsville, Texas. A force of some 3,700 Mexican troops, a portion of the Army of the North, led by General Mariano Arista, engaged a force of approximately 2,300 United States troops, the Army of Occupation, led by General Zachary Taylor. Background: following the Thornton Affair, Arista on the last day in April, started crossing the Rio Grande at Longhorno with his main army. First with General Pedro de Amputia's 1st Brigade and 4 guns. Taylor prepared Fort Texas to withstand a siege while he moved most of his forces to protect his supply base at Fort Polk. Fort Texas was garrisoned by Taylor with 500 men under Major Jacob Brown, including the 7th Infantry, Captain Allen Lode's 4 18-pounders, and Lt. Braxton Bragg's Field Battery. The battle began as a result of Mexican efforts to besiege Fort Texas on May 3. General Zachary Taylor, receiving supplies from Fort Polk on Point Isabel, heard the distant report of cannon fire. Taylor started his return to Fort Texas on May 7 with 2,228 men plus his 200-wagon supply train. General Arista immediately left his camp at the Tanques del Ramirena with his army with the intention of blocking Taylor. Amputia's brigade left the Fort Texas siege to join him. Taylor's scouts sighted the Mexican force at noon on the 8th. Battle. Facing north and moving left to right, General Arista's army consisted of General Antonio Canales Rosello's 400 irregular cavalry and Chaparral Anastasio Torrejon's cavalry brigade consisting of the 8th, 7th and light cavalry, astride the Point Isabel road. Then came General José María Garcia's brigade of the 4th and 10th Infantry with 2 8-pounders. Then General Romulo Diaz de la Vega's brigade of the 10th and 6th Infantry with 5 4-pounders, then the Tampico Corps, the 2D Light Infantry and a Sapper battalion with a 4-pounder. Behind this line was Carl Cayetano Montero's light cavalry. Facing south and moving right to left, Taylor placed Carl David E. Twiggs with Lt. Carl James S. McIntosh's 5th Infantry and Captain Samuel Ringgold's artillery battery, followed by Captain Lewis N. Morris's 3D Infantry with Lt. William H. Churchill's 2 18-pounders astride the road, followed by Captain George W. Allen's 4th Infantry, Lt. Thomas Child's artillery battalion, Lt. Carl William G. Belknap's wing, James Duncan's battery, then Captain William R. Montgomery's 8th Infantry on the American left. Lt. Carl Charles A. May's Dragoon Squadron guarded the left flank and Captain Kroenke guarded the train. Taylor halted his columns and formed a line behind his batteries when the Mexican artillery started firing at 2 p.m. The American artillery was very effective while the Mexican artillery often fell short. Arista ordered Torrejon's cavalry to attack the American right, but progress was slow, allowing Twiggs to form the 5th Infantry into a square to meet them with a couple of volleys. A fire started from a cannon-burning wad which halted fighting for an hour as the smoke paralleled the lines. Arista pulled back 1,000 yards on his left and Taylor advanced accordingly, rotating the axis of the battle 40 degrees counterclockwise. May failed to turn the Mexican left before the artillery duel resumed. Child's artillery battalion formed a square to repel another Torrejon cavalry charge. Duncan's battery stopped Arista from turning the American left and then advanced with the 8th Infantry and Kerr's Dragoons to drive the Mexican right from the field. A charge ordered by Arista at this time resulted in the light cavalry fleeing along the Mexican line, taking the 6th Infantry with them. Fighting stopped with dusk and both armies camped for the night. Aftermath. The morning of the 9th revealed the Mexican army slowly moving south. Taylor sent forward a 220-man battalion under McCall to reconnoiter the Mexican positions. The Battle of Resaca de la Palma would follow. Ringgold was mortally wounded during the battle, but Ringgold's and Duncan's effective cannoneers with their flying artillery, the tactic of using light artillery to attack then quickly move to another location and fire once more, carried the day and won the battle for the Americans. The battlefield is now Palo Alto Battlefield National Historical Park and is maintained by the National Park Service. Order of Battle: Mexican Army of the North Gen.Div. Mariano Arista Deputy-Gen.Br. Pedro Ampudier. Artillery. Gen. Thomas Requena. Chief of Div. R. Linata. 12 guns Infantry 1st Brigade Gen. Jose M. Garcia. 10th Line 2 8-pound guns. 2D Brigade Gen. R. Diaz de la Vega. 1st and 6th Line 6 4-pound guns. Brigade Gen. P. Ampudier. 4th Line, Villas of the North Cav. O. Sappers Company and 2-pound guns. Unassigned. 2D Light, Tampico Coast GRDS Battalion, Zapadores Battalion. Cavalry Brigade Acting Gen. Anastasio Torrejon. Cavalry. 7th and 8th Line, Light Regiment of Mexico and Presidial Companies. 2 4-pound guns. Irregular Cavalry, Gen.Br. A. Candales. American Army of Observation, Brigadier General Zachary Taylor 1st Brigade, Left Wing, LT. Col. William G. Belknap Artillery Battalion LT. Col. Thomas Childs. Light Artillery Captain. Duncan. 8th Infantry Captain. Montgomery. Wagon Train Caps. Crossman and Myers. 2nd Brigade, Right Wing, Colonel David E. Twiggs 5th Infantry LT. Col. James S. McIntosh. Light Artillery Ringgold. 3D Infantry Captain. L.M. Morris. Artillery LT. Churchill. 4th Infantry Marge. G.W. Allen. Squadrons Dragoons Caps. Kern Charles A. May. Gallery. Period map of the battle. Rancho de Caricitas, the site of the Thornton Affair, about 20 miles to the west along the Rio Grande. The basis for Congress declaring war. Texas historical marker. Mexican cannon. Fort Polk. Zachary Taylor established this fort on March 24, 1846 as a supply base for his operations leading up to the Battle of Palo Alto, and used it until 1850. He garrisoned it with 2 artillery companies under Major John Munro. Major Charles Thomas was the depot quartermaster, using wagons and river steamers to supply Taylor. Taylor established camps for those heeding his call for volunteers at Point Isabel, the north end of Brazos Island, and along the Rio Grande between Barreta and Fort Brown, at a place known as Camp Belknap. Point Isabel, the site of Taylor's supply base. Taylor's 3 brigades camped at Corpus Christi along the Nueces River in 1845 before the march south to the Rio Grande. Additional reading. Olqueras, Ramon. Apuntes para la historia de la guerra entre México y los Estados Unidos, Mexico, 1848. Balbotin, Manuel. La Invasion Americana, 1846 or 1848. Apuntes del Subteniente de Artillería. Chartrand, René. Santana's Mexican Army, 1821 to 1848. Crawford, Mark. Encyclopedia of the Mexican-American War. Hecker, Charles M. On the Prairie of Palo Alto. Brooks. C. A Complete History of the Mexican War. Lopez Urigar, Jose. Los Días 8 y 9 de Mayo, Mexico, 1846.